Hi everyone. I hope everyone here has been having fun today. Lots of great sessions have happened today. Thanks for coming around. We're going to have a lot of fun today, chatting about LLMs and some other cool stuff. So while we wait for the media team to fix my slides on the screen, um, let's just hold on a bit. Let's have 10 minutes. All right. All right. Hi everyone. So the slides should come up on the screen shortly. I mean, the title of my session is "My LLM is better than yours," literally, right? And when you hear "My LLM is better than yours," it's a bit funny, right? So I mean, when you think about it, there's a lot of LLMs out there in the world, right? There is a um, sorry, 1 second. The slides are coming up. So when you think about it, right? There's a whole lot of language models out there in the world, right? We have OpenAI's GPT models, we have Gemini, we have DeepSeek, we have like a whole lot of other ones, right? And when you think about it, like which is I don't know, which do you prefer? So like, for example, like what LLM do you use in your day to day? Claude, cool. How about you? What do you use in your day to day? Claude, Claude. How about you? What do you use in your day to day? Claude. I mean, some people like Claude, right? Some people. Okay, cool. My slides are up now, and you can just jump right in. So yeah, I spoke about the title earlier. My LLM is better than yours, right? And I forgot to introduce myself. Hi everyone, I'm Wale Olowonyo. I'm a developer and designer. I've been working in the tech industry for like about 4 years, and I'm passionate about emerging technologies like AI and language models and all the other good stuff, right? So let's go on to the next slide. So like I said earlier, there's a whole lot of language models out there. Like many people say they like Claude. I like GPT-5. I mean that's mine. So I mean different people like different things, right? But there's a whole lot of language models out there. So next slide. I mean, OpenAI has all this GPT-5, the most recently released one, OSS, the open source one, right? There's a whole lot. There's the O1, O3, O4. You hear things like reasoning models, right? And then Gemini also has lots of models, Meta and IBM. Even IBM, yes. Who would think IBM has a language model? And then on Hugging Face, we have lots of open source models, Quen, DeepSeek, and the rest, right? So next slide. Here's literally a snapshot of all the models OpenAI has, right? That's a whole lot. They have about 30 models. Uh, I mean, some are their audio models, their video models, their language models. I mean, about 3 are deprecated here, but generally these are like 30 models. That's a whole lot. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah, so here is a blog post from Google earlier this year when they released Gemini 2.5. Next slide. I mean, their most intelligent AI model. Next slide, please. Hi, media. Yeah, and in this blog post, right, when you scroll down a bit, you find this table has lots of. This is what like when new companies like when companies release LLMs, right? You often see a model card coming along with the release of the model, right? And then you see a table like this having so many things there: GPQA, humanities last exam, AIME, right? And then you see the comparison alongside all the other LLMs out there: OpenAI O3, GPT 4.5, right? But these things are a bit cryptic, right? What does humanities last exam really mean? What does GPQA really mean? What does MMLU or AIME really mean, right? They're a bit confusing, right? So let's talk about it, right? So let's take a step back. How did we even get here, right? So next slide, please. So this is literally the paper that kickstarted it all. I'm sure like some of you guys will have come across this paper before. So I mean, it was released by Google Brain, the Google team. on transformers, right? The transformer architecture for LLM. So this really kickstarted like the whole language model issues, right? So next slide. And then fast forward to this epic moment in history, right? ChatGPT was launched and literally led to an explosion. Next slide. An explosion, literally, right? And then we've come a long way since then. Next slide. Next slide, please. We now have like lots of powerful multimodal LLMs, right? We have audio models, video models. There's literally a model that Google has where you can share your screen with the language model and like it's walking you through what they're seeing on your screen, like guiding you on whatever it is that you are doing at the time. So and there's thousands of LLMs out there, and there are new models being released almost every month. Like, I mean, there was a time. Next slide, please. There was a time when Gemini released the model, then the next week DeepSeek released the model, and like was just happening all so fast. And it reminded me of this tweet, this hilarious tweet. Next slide. So sometimes OpenAI releases the model, they say, "Oh, ours is the world's most powerful, same as DeepSeek, right?" I think the most recent one is GPT-5, so that's where we currently are now. That's the world's most powerful model according to them. So next slide. And sometimes you come across tweets like this, and they just really stump. Like you just get confused. Like, what does thinker model really mean? What does agentic model mean? What does chat model mean, right? So if you are in the space of like you want to build something with an LLM and like you're doing some research and you come across this just breaks your brain somehow, and you're just thinking like, what's going on here? Next slide. So how can you really tell what model is good, like for your use case, right? And like generally, so there are things called eval, so evaluation. How can you evaluate a model? Like what do you look out for in a model? There are generally two ways. We have benchmarks and then we have leaderboards. So next slide. All right. So benchmarks are just tests for models that's measured as skills, knowledge, and reasoning. So next slide. So these are benchmarks from the image I showed earlier, right? These cryptic things, humanities last exam, GPQA, AIME. So these are really just benchmarks. Next slide. So this is also from Claude earlier this year when they released their model. I think it was February this year. Same cryptic things, right? But these are a bit different. So these are agentic coding. That wasn't in the earlier one. So many other things here. And when you say this, automatically your brain says, oh, this says Claude is the best, right? OpenAI, DeepSeek, the others are terrible. But when you take a closer look, right, you see a score of 78 here. And when you come here, you see 80%. So, I mean, at a glance, you see, oh, this is the best at. I can't really see what's here. But I mean, these don't tell you the full story. And then you see some things in small print there. And also here, there are some things in small print that they just keep that way. But I mean, when you now do your research, you really get what they are talking about. So next slide. So some of those benchmarks, here is a summary of some of those benchmarks, right? You have humanities last exam, MMLU, GPQA. So I have about 5 minutes left, so I'm just going to rush through this. Right. So these are some benchmarks, really, like summary of what they are. So this is literally grade school math. So most of the recent LLMs, they easily breeze through this. They get great scores on this. So these are the two that I find quite interesting. I'm going to talk about them. So next slide. So, go back, please. Okay, yeah. So before we even go into that, so there's an issue with benchmarks, right? So it's called data contamination. So literally when an LLM is trained on data suspiciously similar to benchmark questions, right? So next slide. So most benchmarks are static, so which makes them prone to contamination because these LLMs are literally trained on data from the web, and some of these data has pages with answers that are similar to the questions used to test these models in the benchmarks. So how can we even evaluate these models if they've studied the answers before the test, right? So there's a way these researchers like figure out if a model is contaminated, right? But there was a paper I read recently that showed how if a question from a benchmark is tweaked in a bit, like it's rephrased in a bit, it's you are unable to tell if the model is truly contaminated. So next slide. So this is literally where we are with benchmarks right now, right? So there are 14 competing benchmarks, and then so there's a benchmark called humanities last exam. So most models they do very poorly on that. So I mean, then we need to develop a benchmark that covers all edge cases, and then the models get smarter or they get contaminated. How can you really tell? And then there are new benchmarks that come up again, right? So next slide. So I don't really have much time, so I'm just going to breeze through this. So this is a benchmark that literally talks about. So this is a benchmark that's prone to contamination, really, because it literally works with live data from lead code. So say your use case is coding, right? You need a coding model. So this works with new questions that come up on lead code, like fresh questions. So you can't literally say this a model on here like has been like you can use this benchmark to know that a model is a great model. So let's just be next slide, please. Media, please. Let's move a bit faster. So there's also simple bench. Next slide, please. So this next slide. So this simple bench summary talks about how like how models are able to reason, really. Well, I'm out of time, so I'm just gonna breeze through this. So let's keep going, media. And then we have leaderboards. Next slide. So if you literally tell a model to build a landing page for Oscar Fest, right? It gives you two options, and then you literally vote or which is best, and then this feeds into a leaderboard. Next slide. And then at the end, you get to see the model that is responsible for that choice, and then that feeds into a leaderboard like this. So next slide. So benchmarks and metrics look impressive, right? But production grade LLMs require evals that reflect real-world performance. Next slide. So summarily, these are like some things you should pay attention to when you are working with language models. Next slide. So how you can make language models work for you. Next slide, please. And so these are lastly, these are some things you should look out for when you're working with a language model. Having a great prompt, right? Having like looking at the context window of the model, the pricing, and then guardrails. Next slide, please. So this is I'm ending on this quote. Keep building great stuff. Everything around you was made up by people who know smarter than you. So next slide. Thank you. I'm Wale Olowonyo. Follow me on Twitter. Bye. Thanks.